Hi guys, I'm Enrique and this is Enzyme RTV. Today we're going to go over how to draw a dinosaur. The word dinosaur in scientific terms encompasses all of the discovered and undiscovered egg-laying reptiles which descended from an earlier group of reptiles called archosaurs. All that we currently know about dinosaurs has been constructed from information collected millions of years after their extinction. The good news is, with so little known about these fascinating creatures, we can use our imaginations to fill in the blanks. My goal today is to show you that a complex dinosaur drawing can be made using simple shapes. There's a few important benefits of starting a drawing using simple shapes: finding appendages, scaling the proportion, and finding angles. You're not trying to make Jurassic Park out of sausage links here, but we do want to notice the basic forms when they exist. For example, if I draw a circle where I want my dinosaur's leg and hindquarter area to be, I can use that circle to position the legs, which I can then make cylinders or cone shapes to estimate the width and length. As a carnivorous dinosaur, the T-Rex is bipedal and its legs had to be heavy and durable in order to support its own massive body. The arms of the T-Rex are stubby, and though the head is fairly big, we can see that most of the weight in the drawing is in the bottom portion. Always map out the head, ribcage, and pelvis area. These are all connected by the spine and therefore decide the alignment and stature of the dinosaur. Once I have my wireframe bone structure mapped out, I'm going to start layering on some anatomy. I know these shapes I'm drawing for you are not exactly perfectly fit, but I need them to start thinking about how much mass my drawing is going to take up. It's better to go through the trouble of making a framework than to end up with a Godzilla body on chicken legs. If you need a refresher on comparable muscle anatomy, you can see where I went over it here in my dragon video. One technique that can make your T-Rex look a little less Yoshi and a little bit more Steven Spielberg would be the process of landmarking. Landmarks are bony structures which can tie your drawing together. Any bony protrusion that you can see an indication of is a landmark. Think elbows, knees, parts of the ribs, parts of the skull, and so on. I mentioned chicken legs before, so let's look at a chicken leg. This will serve as a good example considering chickens are the closest living relatives of the T-Rex. Take a look at the similarities. Moving on to the tail of the T-Rex, remember that the function of the tail is to be the balancing point. Whenever you draw any animal, you should be familiar with the way certain body parts like the tail function. Knowing that the Rex's tail is a balancing of his posture and the center of its gravity can help you imagine how he would have carried himself. When it comes to stature in relation to different posture, consider the Triceratops, who was as heavy as a T-Rex, only much lower to the ground, and supported itself on 4 cylindrical stumpy legs. In case you don't remember what a Triceratops looks like, think about Sarah, the racist pain-in-the-ass character from the Land Before Time series. When proportioning the Triceratops, consider that the head alone was 1,000 pounds. The skull was almost 1/3 the size of the animal's entire body. We can see that this dinosaur is going to take much more of a horizontal dominion over the page, rather than the vertical positioning of the T-Rex. Also, unlike our T-Rex, the ribcage and pelvis of this dinosaur are so close together that they seem to form one large mass. The spine curves like a bridge and creates an acute angle aligned with the ribcage. The peak of the frill or halo type structure around the animal's head about matches the height of the peak of the spine. A defining characteristic of the Triceratops is, to begin with, they're horny. The 2 horns on their forehead, in fact, are placed right over their eyes. They can be at a slight angle up or down. Meanwhile, the front horn, which you see in the creature's face, which technically isn't even a horn, has a fatter base and angles in a different direction than the other 2. When I'm drawing the mouth, I find that it looks best with a slight hook shape, similar to a bird's beak. The frill is very circular from the front, but if you're drawing the profile view of the form of the crescent, really the shape is more like a potato chip. This herbivore doesn't have sharp nails like the T-Rex, but instead possesses large, flat-ended nails, almost like the ones an elephant has. Using the same principles as before, I create a general sweep of the body and estimate the overall shape and mass of the torso. I point out specifically the torso on this one because it's going to be the heaviest feature on this particular dinosaur. In the skeletal work for this one, I'm going to include an extra line where I mimic the general outline of the back, so I know where to place the plates, which made this type of dinosaur unique. The highest point of the plates was 2/3 the way from the front of the head, or right above the hind legs. There were anywhere between 12 to 18 of these diamond-like spikes on the back of these creatures, 2 rows of them starting from the neck down through their tail. Think of the spikes on the back of an iguana. They're not all standard length. One might be a little short, the next one might have a little nick in it. Making something look real is acknowledging the so-called imperfections and asymmetries. As for the head, it tapers from the base of the neck to the tip of the snout. The entire front of the body seems slightly lower to the ground. The forelegs have 5 toes each, but the hind legs only have 3. We see a drastically different weight balance due to the animal's very long neck. Its neck alone is half the length of its entire body, so keep this in mind when you're drawing the gesture line of your spine. The skull shape is very distinct in this dinosaur, with a large bump taking up its forehead, its wide nasal openings. Think of it as a Nosferatu of sauropods. Following the trend of big feet, the Brachiosaurus basically had hefty, flattened tree trunks for legs. The mass of the dinosaur lies mainly in its feet and torso area, but much of its posture and gesture of the drawing will come from the creature's long, elegant neck and tail. Though this species is radically different in shape and characteristics than the T-Rex I started with, I hope you can see the similarities in the process. By mapping out each drawing and adding on details and simple layers which build upon each other, you can create more complicated visuals. I covered just 4 of the more popular known dinosaurs, and despite all the differences, they all started with the same basic steps. Using dinosaurs as the subject of drawing can be frustrating due to the lack of source material. By referencing animal anatomy, you can grow in your technical ability and your conceptual creativity. Like and share this video, and check out our new official website for some cool downloads. And as always, stay creative.